close my YouTube music. Okay. It's Monday, February 23rd, 2026. I'm Grim.
I'm Scott.
And this is GeekNights. Tonight we're talking about the evils of age verification on the internet. All right, go for it.
All right. So there's this K-pop group called Twice, and we went to see them for the third time.
I feel like that breaks some sort of rule.
I didn't really want to go. I didn't need to see them again, but it was just sort of like, well, I guess we're going, right? Kind of situation. And the concert was at UBS, where I've been to for concerts in the past. And if you live where we live, the best way to get to UBS is to use the train to the very end. Take the E or the F all the way to the end to Jamaica.
Yep.
And then there's an MTA bus that goes to UBS, and you basically get to UBS for $6, and that's the best way. And I've been to UBS before, never for an Islanders game, thankfully, but I've been there for women's hockey and for concerts. And to get home, you do the exact same thing in reverse. And there's this spot. You go outside, and there's all these different ways you can walk to go to different transportation mechanisms. You can go to the car parking lot. You can go to the Long Island Railroad station. You can go to the special area where you wait for a Lyft or an Uber or whatever. And you can go to the bus stop. And every time I've left that arena and I went to the bus stop, there was basically MTA buses lined up waiting because they knew, right? And that was, so I already at least three times we've been there, and that has been the case. Even the very low attendance PWHL game, we walked out of the arena, and there was MTA buses waiting to take us back to Jamaica, right?
Not bad.
And so we assumed that is what we would do this time as well.
Uh-oh.
Right?
Uh-oh, you made an assumption about buses in New York City.
That's right. So we got to the arena, no problem. And during the concert, one very funny thing happened. Well, the only really notable things about the concert was that the production value was like really high. They had like this 360-degree stage, and I was spent most of my time trying to figure out what was going on. And I realized like the dressing rooms have to be under the stage because they haven't left. The only way they could get out is to go out that way where I could see them. They've been under there the whole concert, either on the stages or under the stages. The dressing rooms, everything, all the dancers must be hiding and sitting under there the whole time, right? But anyway, there was one green laser in the lighting setup that at a certain point early in the show turned on and never turned off. So the whole show, there was this one green laser pointing at the ceiling, and I was like, well, eventually the light show will use that laser array again, and it'll get corrected. They never use that laser array ever again. The whole show. I took a photo of the green laser. And then after the show, the green laser was still on. After the encore, we went outside to where the buses were, and the buses just didn't come.
You know what? You know what the problem is? The green laser.
There were hundreds of people waiting for MTA buses on this little thing, and it's like you would see the Q2 was one of the buses. It would come, it would drop people off, which is actually at a different spot where it drops people off, and then it immediately went out of service and left. And we're like, that happened several times.
See, the first time that happened
before.
I would have immediately attempted a different way home, including potentially a devil car or a city bike. Well, I guess there's no city bikes out there.
So the only other ways home were Long Island Railroad, but the schedule was not great because we had already waited a little bit. If we had gone straight for Long Island Railroad immediately, they were waiting, right? Because they know.
Yep.
But since we had already waited for some bus for an amount of time, Long Island Railroad schedule was no longer great because you actually have to walk quite a ways to get to the train from where the arena is.
Yep.
You can't just immediately go to the train.
The only good thing about the LIRR when you're going out that way is if you want to take it in a hurry, as long as you have a basic understanding of how the trains work, if you see a train, you can pretty much just run and get on it because you can always buy a ticket.
I mean, none of the trains really stop near us in a convenient spot, but I guess worst case, we could have taken it to Grand Central and gotten back on the subway, right?
I feel like around Forest Hills is usually the good place. I don't remember.
We could have taken it to Forest Hills and switched to the subway, right? Yep. Or Woodside or whatever, right? We could one of the trains, as long as they were going west, they would have gotten us home somehow.
Yep.
But they were far away, and because we hadn't gone to that option immediately, it was no longer a great option. But I could see the rideshare waiting area from the bus stop. And I saw that there were tons of people waiting there.
Did you do the obvious thing of walk to a different place and then summon a devil car?
No. I saw all these people waiting for devil cars. And I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, well, I'm not going to leave the bus stop, even though there's hundreds of people waiting for a bus, because if one comes, I'm good. And it looks like the devil, if I go over to there, I could see they were within seeing distance, right? Like a 2-minute walk. But I'm like, but if I go over there, what's going to happen? But eventually it was cold and we're like, fuck it. We'll just have to wait for devil car no matter how long it is. And strangely enough, even though there were, by that time, the devil car crowd had thinned, right? And even though there were still people waiting there, the devil car came and got us rather quickly. So I think if I go there again, when I leave, if there isn't a bus immediately, as there was 3 out of 4, 3 out of 5 times, however many times it's been.
There had to be something up with the bus schedule or something.
Something happened to be, something must have messed up with the bus, because every other time I've been there were just buses like waiting, like they knew. And this time, no. And I'm like, so from now on, if you leave there and the bus isn't already there, devil car.
Yeah.
Or train. Just go to the train right away.
Yep. So in some news, and I find this news extremely funny in the properly ironic way. So all these AI companies, all this particularly large language models, like that kind of crap. That's like the popular generative stuff.
I'm still trying to not call it AI.
Yeah, well,
right?
I mean, that is the blanket term for that whole space, but I also include machine learning in that broad umbrella, like traditional machine learning
isn't right. It's like machine learning isn't really bad. Even LLMs aren't bad. It's really just the usage of an LLM for as sort of this tool that can do anything.
Yep.
And it's like, no, that all it can do is predict language.
It can look at 6 words and predict the most likely 7th word that the dumbest 100,000 people in the world type next.
Based on the words it's already seen, it can predict what word is going to come next if it sees new words. That's
Fun
what
fact,
it can do.
that's why a lot of autocomplete things you all use out there you'll type something correctly and it will suggest incorrect grammar over the correct grammar you're typing, because that's how other people type. It's just learning from the masses. So those things work primarily by low-key stealing all the intellectual property, let's say, that all the people of the world have made that they have seen. And there's big debates about how you deal with that, but we're going to sidestep that for a minute. They have argued that that's totally fine. It just sees the world and it is learning from the world, just as though, is it piracy if I walk through an artist alley and then later draw something based on inspiration I saw? Like, that's their argument.
Only if you try to sell it for money.
Well, what if I'm inspired by a board game I played and I design a similar board game on my own?
How similar is it?
Well, what's the line?
Fair use. We got judges for that.
Settlers of Catan.
Yeah.
But so that's the argument they make. So now the American companies like Anthropic are extremely angry that Chinese AI companies are training their AIs on the outputs of the AIs that they made and spent a lot of money training. And the Chinese companies' arguments are basically, we're just doing the same thing you did. The fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And this is all hilarious.
Well,
like, this is just hilarious all the way down.
Good for the goose is good for the gander. Pot, kettle black. We have so many sayings for this phenomenon.
Yep.
Because it is as old as humanity.
It is a deep, deep cultural memory. The Romans had sayings about this because this is what humans do. So, you know what?
And when the Romans had those sayings, they were saying, oh, these sayings, they're so old. The cavemen had these sayings.
Yep. So all I have to say about this entire situation of AI companies complaining that other AI companies are stealing the AI nonsense from them is that, one, when you have a feedback loop that is feeding back on itself, that generally ends in disaster in almost every industry on Earth, eventually. But two, get fucked, all of you. Which leads to my second news. And again, I am not a registered investment advisor. This is not investment advice, nor should it be construed to be. And I have no stake in this. I'm not invested in this. But it is very interesting to me, just personally, that Goldman Sachs has launched an index fund you can invest in. And this index fund's deal is specifically, it invests in everything that is in the benchmark S&P index that is not based on AI. So they're saying they think there's a class of people.
The problem is like, even if they invest in, say, I don't know, fucking Coca-Cola, right? It's like they just make poison drinks.
Yep.
Right? It's like they're not selling, this nonsense. But if people at the company are using it, then it's like they're not saying that like they're only investing in companies that have promised to never touch any, right?
Well, I haven't looked at exactly what this is, because indices and funds and ETFs and all those kinds of things, like they have to be structured somehow. Like, say you want to invest in, I don't know, NATO defense contractors, just as a oddly specific random example that I may have experienced recently. There are multiple funds that all say they're doing that, and they invest in a slightly different way with slightly different rules. Like, you have to understand what they're actually doing. These things are actually pretty complex instruments. So I don't know the details of this one.
You got to invest in I invest, not investment advisor, not investment advice. I invest in the not so complex ones. Like, we will invest in the index that already exists.
Well, I mean, for a long time, my 401k was invested in this generic, like, large cap, mostly non-US, non-tech equities. But, like, otherwise, it just did its thing on its own. Like, I'm not fucking with that because I am not an expert in investing. And also, you can't be an expert in investing, in my personal opinion.
The only thing I'd point out about this, supposed fund, however they allocate their investments, right, is that it's pretty funny it's like, oh no, I want to avoid investing in those companies because it's a bubble, right? But all this time, everyone's been saying, hey, the only growth that the stock market keeps going up because of those companies. The rest of the stock market is flat. So if that's true and you invest in this index, you're investing in the rest of the flat market. Now, so you're basically, if that's true, again, I don't know, I'm not an expert, don't invest based on any of this. If that's true, investing in this fund would be a bet that when the bubble bursts, the non-bubble companies would then rise.
Oh, not necessarily. So hedging basically means I have a bet. Like, it's going to be black on the roulette table. And I put $80,000 on black.
But you put some on red just in case.
I put some on red just in case. I'm hedging my bet. Literally, hedge your bet. That's what the term hedge fund comes from.
That's where hedge funds come from. Yes.
Yeah. Now, what they actually do in practice is way more complicated than that, but that's not a scope. So the play here could also be, I am not betting, as theoretical investor investing in a fund like this, that all the non-AA stuff rises once the bubble bursts. I am betting that is where stability remains when the bubble collapses. It's not,
so it doesn't go. It'll be the only stuff that doesn't go down, and at least your money will be safe.
Yep. That's also a way to invest, because
checking account also.
Think about the train game we're playing right now and the relative value of my shorted shares in your stock and how that's all going to go.
Assuming your money is not so large to exceed, at least the United States, FDIC insurance, a savings account will be better. That's any kind of bet.
I've had to deal with that, actually, so I've got multiple separate savings accounts.
Sure, but the point being,
so my point is, and again,
you don't need to be an investment advisor to know a savings account is less risky than any financial.
Not investment advice, but over the last couple of months, for a lot of personal reasons, based on just my animal sense of the world, I have moved most of my investments into cash equivalents, that kind of thing. Not long term, but I put them there, not because I think they're going to make a ton of money, because I've made enough money from everything that all my retirement investments have been doing for the past 30 years. And now I am low-key betting that a lot of things are going to collapse relatively soon, and I'm trying to avoid falling in that pit. And what that costs me is the opportunity cost of how much more could everything else go up? How much bigger could all the other bubbles get? So I'm missing out on potential gains, but I've also locked in a very long history of actually extremely successful personal investment.
If we're all playing Can't Stop.
I've stopped. I stopped. We're playing Can't Stop, and I stopped. I have
Gotcha.
stopped. I'm just that is what I have done personally. I've locked in 20 or 30 years of very successful investment because I don't think things are going well in the world right now. But what strikes me about this is not all those details. Goldman Sachs is a large company with a lot of capital, and it has decided there is a very large opportunity in selling investment products to people who think AI sucks shit. That is what they just told the world. They think they'll make money with this.
So even just creating this fund itself is a way of saying something.
Yes.
And perhaps moving the market simply because people see that they've created
Now,
it.
they're not saying it's a good bet. They're saying people want to invest in this thing.
Yeah, I mean, they don't, unless you pay them money, they don't tell you what's a good bet or
Yeah.
what they think is a good bet or not, right? If you haven't hired them as official investment advisors, right, they can't tell you what's a good bet. They simply say, these are bets that we'll allow you to make, that we will take money for.
I will, what I'll end on is
We will let you play craps. We will let you play roulette. We won't tell you which one is good or bad or how you should play them.
I am, and again, not investment advice. What I am personally invested in right now is like European, like euros as opposed to dollars, and NATO defense contractors that are also themselves in Europe and have primarily intra-European supply chains.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, got any
big
news?
News is, of course, we're mostly going to talk about in our main bit. It's obviously the reason for the main bit is the Discord age verification. Right?
Yep.
So the main bit's going to be about age verification in general, but I just want to here only talk about the details of Discord's age verification story. Even though it's an old story by now, it's continuously developing.
Yep.
And it's big because everyone uses Discord, even us, a lot. At least everyone listening to this probably.
Yep. And they even had a fucking data breach again related to this identity nonsense.
Here's the deal, is certain countries and certain states are starting to have age verification laws. Discord is just like, fuck it. We'll just do it globally. That way we don't have to deal with the regionality hassle.
Yep. And they had already done it locally to the point, I don't remember what I said on GeekNights, but last time I was in London, I went into a Discord that has plenty of non-smutty content in it, but there is one channel in that Discord that is marked by the owners of that Discord as there's smut in here. This is an adult channel. And when I was in London, I could not access that channel in my own goddamn Discord.
That's right. So
the only way I was able to was going down into the London Underground, because if my phone connected to the internet in the underground for whatever reason, that didn't trigger the block. It was only if I was above ground in London.
Interesting. So here's what Discord's new policy is as of today, right? So starting soon, at some point in the near future, I don't know exactly when, they're going to put this policy into effect globally, where if somebody has a Discord account, they will use their AI bullshit, whatever nonsense of some that is very vaguely described to automatically detect and determine whether they think you are an adult or not based on the fuck ton of data they've collected about you, right? I don't know how much data they've kept about me, because during the Discord annual Wrapped, I wasn't able to use that because I've set all the privacy settings to the strictest possible level.
Yep, the only correct answer to the Discord Wrapped was it telling you that it didn't have enough data to talk about you.
That's right. So I've set that. That means I've set the settings so strictly. I don't know if it'll be able to determine if those users are adults or not automatically, but okay, good. I'm still not changing those settings. Anyway, if it determines that you are an adult, it'll leave your account in adult mode. If it determines that it doesn't know, it won't put your account in adult mode. It'll be in teen mode. And I guess if you're less than teen, you're not supposed to be on Discord at all. So there's really only teen mode and adult mode. Anyway, if you're in teen mode, you won't be able to get into the smutty channels that Rim wants to get into. And so if you want to get into those smutty channels and you are either an adult and it's just simply hasn't been able to figure out that you're an adult, or you're a teen and you want to skirt the system, you will have to verify that you are an adult using some sort of like ID scan or a face scan of some kind that they claim they won't keep that, identity documents or face photos. They'll throw them away once they verify.
And just to point out right here again, there have already been 2 different breaches of the contractors they're using to do this, where personal data and photos got leaked.
Yes, they have used, they don't do this themselves. It's not like Discord built a system to do this. They pay a contractor who provides age verification technology, and the ones that they've worked with in the past have had problems and whatnot, and Discord is trying to distance themselves from those outsourced verification providers and perhaps find a new one that they believe they can trust.
Which I think is literally impossible, but that's for the main bit.
Yeah, but that is the current state of things, is that it was big. They said they were going to do this. They haven't completely recanted, but there was such an outcry that they are backpedaling and hemming and hawing.
So many people were posting photos of they tried to cancel their Nitro and it kept timing out in the 2 days after they announced this bullshit.
And a lot of people are trying to find Discord alternatives, and if you want to do that and not be beholden to, basically you have a lot of options and none of them are great.
Yep. And ultimately we're going back to the original internet and the fact that there's a certain kind of online nerd who is a certain kind of prickly about certain combinations of open source licensing and self-hosting, because we've been fighting this fucking battle for as long as there's been an internet. The age verification was coming for us in the 90s, and we had to keep fighting back against it. Never mind censorship, clipper chips, all that nonsense. This has been an ongoing battle, and the ultimate promise of computing has always been the nerds have to build it themselves because capital will always destroy it.
And I just want to say, I told you so. I was against Discord in the first place.
Yeah, Discord approached us. Back when the GeekNights forum was actually like big, like it showed up in Google results like way high, Discord approached us and wanted to talk to us about migrating our community in, and Scott basically told them to get fucked for all the correct reasons. We had a great conversation with them. But
I was against Discord from the beginning.
Yep.
But I couldn't fight against, only one person standing and getting hit by a tsunami. It's like, but yeah, my policy has been since Discord. Discord is basically the last mistake because it was the one where I knew I was making a mistake, right? When I started it. But it's like the policy is unchanged since then. I will only, from platforms that are big and commercial and private and whatnot, I will only leave those platforms now for the rest of my life. The only platforms I will join for now, for as long as I live, are the open, free, self-hosted, etc. I will not join any more proprietary garden type platforms if I can help it, for as long as possible.
Yep. And there's definitely a world where one ends up using such platforms for specific ends, but my line is more very specifically, I'm not investing in these platforms. Like, I have WhatsApp on my phone because I have a bunch of old people where that's like the only way they know how to talk to me.
I just wouldn't talk to them.
Yeah, I can't always get away with that. I have a wide social network. One of our unnamed friends who is on Discord, the only way to actually talk to him is to text him. Like, nothing else works.
Texting is fine.
Yeah. But all right, let's see. Let's jump to things of the day. This website keeps loading funnily, but whatever. But anyway, things of the day. So this is just a little website that a friend of ours posted. And I'm going to link to one of the categories in it. And the category is the list of super wide Unicode symbols. And these are just glyphs that you can type in Unicode, assuming the font you're using supports it, that are just unreasonably wide for some reason. But the reason I'm making this my thing of the day is that I don't know how many of you out there understand the absolute insanity of what Unicode actually supports and what Unicode really looks like and does. So this website, Unicode Explorer, is basically your reference to look at all the crazy shit inside of Unicode and answer questions about Unicode. This website's actually great and super useful.
Yeah. It's an old website.
Yeah.
That's it? Unicode Explorer?
So if you ever need to know how to type the cuneiform sign Lugal opposing Lugal, well, I just typed that in our YouTube chat.
You copy and paste it. You don't type that shit.
Well, I copy and paste. Wait, I can hold Control Shift in Windows. Hold Alt, type plus, and then on the numpad type 12219, and then release Alt.
Yeah, there you go. Okay,
and it worked.
So there's this computer, my thing of the day, which is not just a computer. This is from the year 1979, and apparently Sharp made this device back in 1979 that is a cassette tape player and a radio / boombox with its speaker and a television and a clock and a computer all in one device somehow. It's kind of incredible that they combined all these things into one device. The computer is quite primitive. Think of it more like a calculator, word processor-y kind of deal. I don't think it's quite like Apple II. It's not, it's 1979, right?
Well, it's got that grid keyboard that you see on a lot of very early computers.
Yeah, it can do. Its functionality is very limited, and you really would have to plug a printer into it. And you could do, I guess, some accounting type activities with it, perhaps. But yeah, there's very little information about the device, and I thought that it was not even real. It was some sort. It's like somebody had photoshopped or automatically generated some imagery of a device that never really existed. But there's enough different photos of it that are so impressively real, and other things like an old auction on Yahoo Japan and stuff like that, that it appears to be a real thing, and pictures of advertisements and stuff. So
for me, it's just the style of this thing is.
It was produced in such limited quantities, and that's so you don't you'd never see one. I guess even if you were in Japan, right? So it's just fascinating to know that this exists, and yeah, it's mostly. Imagine, you see someone walking down the street with, a boombox, and it's no, it's actually also a television and a computer.
Yeah.
It's what? And it's 1979. I'm not even alive yet.
In the meta moments, we are going to be at PAX East. It's coming up on Thursday.
It's way too soon. East.
Yep, I gotta get the slides together for this talk, so be ready for it. And we're gonna post at some point soon details of the tours of PAX East that we plan to run at PAX, because why not? PAX East is 4 days, which is too long considering how PAX East operates. But we'll be there. It'll be a good time. If you are also going to be there and you're interested in joining or helping us with this PAX tour, I think it'll be a good time, and it'll also serve as a cool person meetup. So if you're hearing these words on the internet, I recommend if you're at PAX East or in Boston, come see what's doing at PAX other than our panel. I picked a book club book, but I'm going to travel for 2 weeks and finish that other book first. So I'll make the post after I get back from London, since Scott is also reading an interim book before the book. But the book is about consciousness and octopi and underwater monstrosities, I think.
You think?
I don't know. All I read, the only thing I know about it is what that card said at the bookstore.
Yeah, I never heard of it before. You mentioned it, and I haven't looked into it either, so I don't know any more than any of that.
And last, one of our talks from MagFest this year, which is not on YouTube anywhere. This is actually a brand new talk that we put together, designing games for spectators. I just dropped it on YouTube last night. It's up there, full video with slides, and I forgot until I opened this to edit that this is one of the 2 panels we did at MagFest that was in the mirror room, where there is annoyingly right behind the panelists on stage is a gigantic wall mirror.
And nothing's covering it.
Yeah. So the camera angles had to reflect that, and I did the best I could with the fact that there's a mirror there. Though for the other
Okay.
panel that was in the room, the meta context talk that Emily and I did, the mirror actually worked because the panel is all about mirrors in games and what they represent to a degree. So it actually kind of worked indirectly. All right. So age verification. I got to go all the way back to early internet, because the early internet was just this absolute Wild West. The age gate of the early internet was a byproduct of the money and the knowledge gates of the internet. Like, the internet was just completely open. Like, if you wanted to talk to someone, you could just talk to someone. There wasn't like spam yet. Like, the internet was such a radically different place. And
Well, I think it's just technology, even forget the internet, but just technology in the earliest days, there was no inherent, it's like if you had access to the physical objects, technological objects, there was nothing that could stop any human being from using it, right? It's like, what was the age gate on even today? What is the age gate on a car? It's like, can you get the keys and operate the door? It's like, there's nothing that stops a 12-year-old from driving. Can they reach the pedals, I guess, if their legs not long enough yet?
Yep. I mean, old computers didn't even have passwords. Like, the idea of typing in a password to open your computer, that appeared while I was alive.
Yeah, I mean, people would create various objects. You think about, like,
my uncle had a computer that had a cover on it, and you had to open the case with a key to hit the power button. That was the password, a physical key that was also really easy to jimmy.
Think about like child-proof bottles, right? And it's nothing. There's nothing inherent in it that stops a child from opening it and eating all the drugs and dying from poison. It's only that they make the lid on the bottle complicated enough to open that the hand-eye coordination of a small child will not be sufficient to open the bottle. But like a 12-year-old can figure it out.
Yep.
Right?
Well, I mean, there's even, I remember reading a big fight on Reddit about people who were saying, I want to be able to get bottles of medicine that are not childproof because there are no children in my home, and those things are a pain in the ass. And there was another contingent arguing it is dangerous to even make such things because they might fall into the hands of children. And that argument is kind of the basis of where we are today, because the internet, unlike physical places, the internet really opens up the possibilities of human interaction. Because, for example,
there is one place I just wanted to mention outside of technology where age gating works, and that is in stores and other places of business where there is simply a person there who is doing the age gate as a guard, right?
Yep.
You could not buy a dirty magazine at the bodega unless the guy there would sell it to a child.
But
purpose,
I
right?
could rent effectively pornographic anime like Doom Megalopolis from Blockbuster as a kid, and you know what? They didn't do shit.
They had to know. They didn't know.
They didn't
right?
know.
If they knew and they cared, right? It's like, did I go to see an R-rated movie when I shouldn't have? It depended on if the person at the movie theater knew or cared, right?
Yep.
Could I go and drink poison if I wanted to? It's like, well, is the bartender, maybe they want to sell it to a kid and take the
Knew
risk
and
of their
cared is really
license.
important, because there were no laws around R-rated movies like having to be 18. When I was in high school in Michigan and late middle school, we would go to R-rated movies by ourselves all the time, and none of the local theaters cared at all. They would only ask for an ID if you were going to one of the rare X-rated movies.
Yeah. But that's the whole thing, is the only place that an age gate can possibly function in our society, and the only place age gates or any kind of gates, like think about you're at an amusement park, you must be this tall to ride, right?
Yep.
It's like the only thing enforcing that is a human who is there enforcing the rule, who cares about enforcing the rule and adheres to the rule.
And that's a good example, because that is a situation where it is objectively dangerous to let someone who is shorter than that
Oh yeah,
stick.
I'm not talking at all about whether we, these particular gates of permitting and not permitting people to do various things based on factors of their body, right?
Yep.
It's like fucking what, you could even say the same shit about the fucking racists not letting black people sit at the counter at the drugstore. It's like a human was doing. If there was no racist ass motherfucking human at the drugstore, nothing would stop them from eating, right? It was
well, think about the book club book.
We've ever had.
The book we just did in the book club, I Who Have Never Known Men, one of its ultimate messages is we are our own jailers, humanity.
That's right. If there's no human enforcing any of these restrictions at the spot, right, as long as then the people are just uninhibited and can do whatever. And so that came to the internet, where reasonable people can debate all information that humans have created up until this point. Most of it is somewhere available on the internet, on some computer, being by some means, whether you have to set up crazy dark web software in advance or you have to pay money or do something. It's there somewhere. And perhaps not all of it is appropriate for some people or all people, frankly. And how and should we ensure or develop any sort of system to make sure that people can't or don't access information that they shouldn't based on some factor, right? Especially since everyone is just at home with no other humans around them. They're just at a computer that is connected to this global network.
And the trickiest part of this is that how is a difficult conversation that might be impossible, and whether or not we should is also an extremely difficult conversation. For example, many forms of infinite scroll social media where there's a lot of evidence that it is actually pretty directly harmful to developing brains to consume in quantity. So should a young child be able to scroll infinitely through TikToks all day, every day? There can have a big debate around that. But if you agree there should be some limit for the health of that child, and the evidence shows that it is dangerous, then how becomes very important, because arguably the how should be that child has parents who pay attention to them and are themselves the gatekeeper. But as soon
even they cannot guard their child all the time and monitor and surveil, right? It's like,
do you know how many kids watched The Simpsons because I showed it to them when I was in elementary and middle school because their parents thought it was satanic and wouldn't let them see it? As soon as they were not in their parents' house, guess how many violent video games they got to play at our house?
Yeah, it's like we didn't buy any toys. We didn't buy that many toys that were like gun toys.
Yep.
But it's like we went to other kids' houses and they had gun toys.
Yep. I mean, I grew up in an era where I got access to the internet. Like, we got access, and we're sitting around the computer in the living room, like me, my family, like a bunch of neighbors, because it was like the first house in our area where someone had like actual internet. And we're sitting there, and I'm the one who set it up. I'm this kid, and we go to this search prompt, and I type bomb making instructions. I hit enter, and we found a bunch of bomb making instructions. And all the adults laughed, and they were like, oh, this is going to be great. And no one gave a shit. And every kid had full access to the internet after that moment.
So what's happening right now is that well-meaning, mostly well-meaning.
I actually don't think it's mostly well-meaning, but we'll get to that.
All right. Well, there are some well-meaning people who are concerned for the children, who have power in governments around the world, states, countries, etc. Right? And even just some companies that operate platforms on the web, right? And they say, yes, this is something children should not be allowed to be doing. We want to institute some sort of control to make sure only adults are doing this thing. And they're used to doing this because they do it. This is a thing governments are used to doing. I don't think there's any government on earth that says like, yes, children can go into the casino, no problem. Okay?
Yep.
I don't know of one country that allows that, right? Yes, our country will allow, drug parties, but we won't allow children. We're going to let children into there isn't a place I know of that allows child drug parties, right? There might be places that allow adult drug parties. There are places that allow prostitution. I don't know of any places that allow children to go to to purchase the prostitute, right? So,
But as
This
soon
is like
as there
something
is a
that you should doing.
transactional act of commerce, there is now a gate where there are a lot of ways to handle that. Like having a credit card or not is one example. Shipping addresses, more advanced things you might purchase. There's KYC, know your customer laws and regulations and rules. Like if I try to buy certain kinds of things, I have to prove who I am for regulatory reasons. Like that's a thing.
But all of those things, right, are something that was because the enforcer is not there at the exact moment that this activity is taking place, right? Is like the only authentication we have is authentication. The same authentication technologies we use to log in to everything, biometrics, something you have, something you know, right? And if your authentication credentials are leaked, any sort of flags attached to those credentials or to that account, like, yes, this account is in teen mode, this account is in adult mode, right? Yes, this person came to our office for KYC and they're an accredited investor, and they can do everything. They can see the ultra porn. They're 90 years old, right? It's like, yes, their account has the full maximum admin privileges of God tier everything, and then their kid takes their password and their YubiKey and logs in and now has all those privileges, right? Because the computer cannot verify. The computer has no way, even biometrics. I cut Dad's hand off and I copied his fingerprint, or it's just a crappy fingerprint reader. I figured out how to fool it somehow, right? You know, the Touch ID or the Face. I took a picture of Dad's. I made a model of Dad's face and held it up to the Face ID.
Now, meanwhile, politicians in Colorado are pushing for a state law that will require all operating systems to have hard age check requirements to allow access.
Yeah. Was it? Okay, so I guess no Linux on any computer. Everyone will it'll be at the data center, and every single virtual machine is like doing age checks of the bots that are to the automated system that's operating it. It's all Linux. It's like, it's not going to happen, bro. Right? It's just people who that's just people in law not understanding technology.
Yeah,
right?
which has always been a big part of this particular fight, because even if you have people who are acting in full good faith and they want to keep kids out of the ultra porn factory on the internet, on one hand, adults have sort of a right to have their own ultra porn factory off in the corner, and
as long as it's not a CSAM ultra porn factory.
Yeah, but if a kid,
as long as it's an okay a consensual, ethical porn factor.
Yeah, ultra porn, not the cosmic porn in Player of Games.
Right. Yeah.
On the secret government channel. That should be illegal. But adults have spaces online, social spaces, and the internet is just this big open social space, like a giant, it's like the real world almost, just this giant space. You can't gate everything from everyone. Like, there's no way to centrally do this in a safe way, because everything Scott said, any mechanism that in any way can validate the age of a user, regardless of the degree of effectiveness and the degree to which someone could circumvent it, is going to then be a data set that if someone steals it or uses it for nefarious purposes, they can cause great harm. And arguably, the harm caused by stealing people's identity will be greater than the harm of having a more open internet. That's sort of the basis of the debate right now. But a secondary problem is that a huge percentage of the people pushing for these gates are doing so in deep bad faith, because this is primarily coming from right-wing movements. And the pattern we saw was also in Russia, where they use this to require age verification for smut or pornography. But then they simultaneously, during using different wings of lobbying, increase the broad scope of what they mean by pornography. And a lot of the groups pushing for this stuff have long-standing ties to anti-LGBT groups, and their actual mission is to gate the internet away, gate LGBT content away from people under the age of 18 or people who won't scan their face and their retina. That's basically what they want. They're trying to push content they don't like off the internet by forcing platforms to do onerous things that will then deprioritize that content.
Right, because if they can at least do the first part, then they can get into the debate about what counts as porn and what's not, what is gated and what's not, and they can push things they don't like over to the bad side of the gate. The other thing that they can do, right, is they can somehow basically de-anonymizing people, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, right now, you could just sort of go and look at porn and use VPNs and use all kinds of technologies that like it would be really hard for anyone to know that you looked at that porn. And not, even if it's, it shouldn't be illegal porn, right? It should be okay, ethical porn that you're looking at. But maybe you don't want people to know that you're really into, maybe you're a foot guy and you don't want, that would be embarrassing, right? Even though there's nothing wrong with that.
I feel like in the year of our Lord, 2026, foot guy is the least embarrassing possible thing I can imagine.
Oh, let me just say this. If you're foot, like I'm not foot guy, right? It's just the obvious example. If you are foot guy or foot girl or foot whoever, right, out there, you don't need to be embarrassed about that. No. I will not look down upon you, right? There's a lot of people who are into feet. I don't understand it myself.
Yeah.
I'm just using it as an example. I'm not sort of trying to denigrate you or embarrass you or anything.
In fact, I go and say that when someone,
there's nothing wrong. I think feet a little gross, a little smelly, but if you're into that, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But maybe you are that foot person and you're not personally embarrassed by it, but you still don't want that to just be public knowledge, right?
Because you live in a society and you've all seen what society's like.
Right. It could be bad if that got around your job, right? You might not be working in such a professional workspace with good-minded people, right? I could imagine like if you worked at, say, a warehouse, people, where there's a different kind of work culture, right? Or you work in like, I don't know, some kind of, depending on your workplace, if the culture isn't good, people might tease you or oust you, or it might not be good for your career if it got out that you were into feet. Or maybe you're a teenager, right? And it gets out amongst the kids that you're into feet. And that's going to ruin your whole social everything.
Yep.
Right?
Like that, that's really,
college.
That really happens to teenagers. Teenagers do not have the wealth of experience to understand how little anything that happens back in that stage of their lives matter. And there's no way to convince them of that. So it will ruin their lives.
Or maybe, you were into feet and maybe you still are, but now you're much older.
Yep.
And I don't know, you're running for public office or you're trying to get a promotion. And there's some reason that somebody might want you to fail at something. And now they can blackmail you if they find out and they have evidence that you're in defeat. Because if they could either release the info to the public and thus harm your reputation, causing you to fail, or you had to pay them off, or if you want to fight them with the law, that's the problem with fighting blackmailers by law, because blackmailing is illegal, is that usually results in the information becoming public.
Yep. That's why you've got to try to live your life to where blackmail isn't effective against you. But a lot of societies...
Definitely ineffective against me. But,
like, for example, if the verification system has determined that someone is gay, and they live in a country where that is illegal or heavily oppressed, they are in deep shit if that information gets leaked anywhere.
That's right. And so by any age verification system is necessarily, regardless of the authentication system for whatever the application the system is necessarily going to tie some identifying criteria to the account, making de-anonymization either trivial or anonymization. It might make anonymization non-existent, or it still might make it easier than it should be, right? And it should be not. You should be able to make an account on the feet site without having to reveal anything about who you actually are.
Yep.
Right.
Don't think about
I'm a person at a computer who wants to see feet.
And don't think about like me and Scott or like any other like YouTube-y type people you might watch, because we live pretty like open lives where like we're using the same handles everywhere for the most part. Like it's pretty easy to find all the weird and embarrassing shit I've said over the years all over the internet. Like my identity is very...
And if you find shit I've said in the past or made in the past that's terrible, I'll own up to it and I'll say, yeah, I was a piece of shit then. I didn't know what the fuck I was on about.
But
I learned. I hope I learned, but it's like, okay.
For a lot of people, their online identity is very fractured and disconnected for a reason. So the other problem we have now is that online social spaces, in the old days, like nerds could kind of avoid these kinds of problems because nerds would always just build their own communication networks. But the danger of those communication networks is that you can only talk to other nerds there or individual people who nerds have heavily adopted to help them use the tech. Like using IRC was something that like most people I knew in high school were literally incapable of. So the only people
most people today are still incapable of using IRC.
But now social media is how a lot of people socialize. Like there's a lot of people I talk to on Discord a lot because that's just where all the people are. So as a result, gating that general social technology has a huge chilling effect on how a lot of people in practice socialize with other human beings in the real world. Like, and you might say, oh, well, make your own private club. Like, yeah, I could run my own private Discord-like equivalent for my friends, but that means I have to onboard every person I know on Earth who I want to talk to into that thing, and I have to maintain, like, all these different systems now. So these age verifications are intruding into adult social spaces, and that chilling effect is only going to grow, and it's exacerbated by the fact that now most people use social media, and most people don't have good other ways to communicate with their extensive social networks.
Another thing that happens, right, is that when people want to, do something, but it's not allowed, right? Those people might they'd be more willing to go through some extra efforts, right, that normally they would not go through. So, for example, I wanted to play some video games back in the day, right? And it wasn't so easy to get them to run on the computer because it didn't work that well, right? And so I put in extra effort learning some boot disks and some auto execs and I learned all kinds of shit and went through a huge hassle because I really wanted to do this thing.
Yep.
And I could not do it. And it's like, if you put up these age gates and it's like, well, I can't go onto a Discord server just easily anymore. There's this age gate in the way. Those kids will become motivated to learn something like IRC or some dark webs or so all this stuff that is still out there and basically can't be blocked. It's not some easy public platform.
Yep.
Right.
Well, the people who maintain Mastodon issued a statement that basically said, we literally can't comply with all these laws because it's a fully decentralized platform. Like anyone can run our software. So,
yeah. So the good of this might be that children become motivated and learn technologies to some extent.
I mean, I learned how public key encryption worked because I wanted to exchange secret messages with other nerds I knew on the internet a long time ago.
But for the health and safety of the children, wouldn't it be better if we had them continue to operate where non-technologically sophisticated adults like their parents could see them and not in dark web IRCs, or maybe they're better off in the dark web IRCs.
I feel like they might be because I was reading this article.
Depends on the children, right? The children could be in the dark web furry cyberpunk anime trading IRC, which would be awesome. Or they could be in the right-wing Nazi underground IRC, which would be bad.
Yep, and the problem is there are no easy solutions to that dichotomy of society. Like that problem of there's the Nazi space and the cool furry space existing in dark corners of the same platform. That's not a technology problem. That's society. That is a reflection of the actual society. There are Nazi bars hidden in New York. When you find one, you dox it and try to cause trouble for it. There's also the cool gay furry bars in New York City. They exist in the same physical space because the internet is now just a full reflection of society. So you can't solve this problem simply. And the people who act like you can solve it simply are mostly bad faith right-wing people.
I think that, it's an example of there being a problem and people trying to solve the consequences, right? And I talk about this a lot, right? Is that some things are problems and some things are consequences. And you can try to mitigate consequences, but usually it just sort of changes the consequences. You're not really, you never really clean it up, right? Problems you can actually solve, right? They're solvable, right? So an example would be like, we have this factory that's spewing pollution and all the children in the area have asthma. And it's like free inhalers is trying to solve free inhalers for the children is trying to solve consequences, right? You can't solve, right? It's like, it's not necessarily bad, but it's not getting it done, right? It's
Yep.
if you've got all this CSAM out there, and children are seeing this, it's like is an age gate is like inhalers. It's not gonna do it, right? You have to take a different approach to solve the actual problem, which is understandably people abandon that idea because solving the actual problems are so enormous. It's like, oh, how do I solve that problem? Shifting our entire society.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, well, I can't do that, so I'm going to give inhalers to all the children because that's something I can do. It's like achievable. And because people keep going down that road, understandably, because like from their perspective, the amount of power they have, they do the thing that seems achievable. But the end result of that is society collapses because we never fix any of the actual problems ever. Because they seem too big that we can't do anything about them, and no one does anything.
And not before, it just reminds me of humans. We are perfectly capable of solving big problems. If you don't believe
if we
that,
actually try, we have. There are some times that we have.
Go read about the ozone hole. We fucking fixed that. Like, humanity fixed the hole in the ozone layer, and humanity prevented the year 2000 bug from destroying computing. Like, we did a lot of things. Yeah, we've done things if we just put our minds to it. We just don't agree to even do those things. But
so if we want to protect the children, there are absolutely ways that we can actually protect the children, right? But we're not doing those. Instead, we're doing this thing, which might actually, it might protect some children, right? But
I think the harm it's going to cause
a lot more. It's going to cause a lot of problems for adults. Right?
Yeah,
a lot of problems for adults. So.
And that gets back into this idea of one of the side arguments around this is adults, or I guess people who are above 18, like consenting adult people in some fashion, they have the right to associate with other consenting adults in mostly whatever way they want, and be wary of anything that a government ever tries to do that intercedes in those environments. And the rationale is to protect children from those environments. Because like look at our Discord. There aren't children in there. Like, I know everybody who's in that Discord. So fuck you, Discord. It's like my house party. If I let a kid into my house party and they get drunk and pass out in the basement, like, that's my fault.
If someone sincerely wanted to protect children, there's a lot of things they could be doing that are backed by evidence and don't have negative side effects for the rest of society.
So what do you all do out there? Honestly, the most important thing you can do right now is if you are using Discord or things like it, any commercial social media platform, you have to at least internalize and recognize that that platform is fucked, and it's either going to die someday or it's going to be killed by something like this. There is no place you can go except either something you host yourself or something you and a bunch of friends figure out how to host. Like, find the nerdiest person in your social circle who's like Scott and is mad about this shit and ask them what to do, and set up some janky IRC that you and all your friends use, because
if you
the adults will never find you.
If you switch to something free, open source, self-hosted, you will have to suffer with some jankiness. It's not going to be, as nice and beautiful and friendly, user-friendly as the commercial platforms that have so many resources spent on engineers and designers building the front ends and tools, right? It's like, just the effort to catch up and by the time if you start working and trying to clone Discord, even if you start on top of someone else's existing open source work like Matrix or one of those, you will not catch up to them. There's still people working at Discord pulling away feature-wise. Right?
Yeah, look at Audacity, the most popular open audio editing software on earth. It's pathetic compared to old versions of Audition.
Right. It's like, people still trying to catch up to Photoshop. It's like, unless Adobe stops working on Photoshop, you're not going to catch up to it. They're paying people to work on it all day long. How are you going to catch up to them without any freaking money?
Yep.
It's like,
but because they're a company with money, they also are easily forced to do things by governments like that. Like, you can, Discord, even if the people who run Discord are totally chill and think this is stupid, the US government, the UK government can literally force them to do this shit. So you've got to get out of those spaces.
All right. So don't join proprietary platforms unless you know what you're getting into when you do that. Don't join any more that you're not already on. And if you do, just be aware that, like, you're going to basically be spending your life switching from one to the next one to the next one. As they
the first social network.
And eventually you may run into a situation where the laws and policies are such that none of the ones that are available are any good. So you're just either going to have to use a shitty one and suffer, or switch to an open, free, self-hosted, some kind of underground something.
There's a bit
suffer with bad user experience of some kind.
If anyone out there, if you're familiar with the Murderbot series, there's a repeated theme that comes up in the books. I don't know if it appeared in the show yet, but in the books, where they always point out that the technology...
The show was only the first book.
Yeah, but the technology from the corporate rim, like the equivalent of a smartphone or a gun or like a nice, like all the consumer things you could use, they're just so much better than anything outside of the corporate rim. But at the same time, if you're reading those books, would you rather live in the corporate rim and have access to those things? Or would you rather live on the hippie planet where the smartphones all kind of suck? The answer is the latter. Trust me.
You're good enough.
All right. Good show. Ugh. And Wednesday morning, I'm heading off to ski with Skojo and Caitlin and some people for a week. And then London